my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the sky. We are heroes tonight. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Hello there, this is SIMUS from SIMUS Film Entertainment and welcome to livestream number 5. Recently a lot of you guys asked me if I could do a visual effects tutorial, and I thought it would be cool to do this as a live stream so that you can ask me questions in real time and I can answer them, of course. So there's a download link for the footage that I'm going to be using down in the description, so go ahead and download it, open up Blender, and I'll see you there. It's no problem if you want to see your own footage, so yeah, see you in 2 minutes.
I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan.
Down in the description, so
we I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
So here we are, welcome to the stream everyone, this is SIMUS from SIMUS Film Entertainment, and yeah, today we're going to take a look at the basic stuff of making visual effects in Blender. So the first step that you want to make as soon as you've opened up Blender is to go right down here into the lower left corner. I'm losing the ability to speech today already, well, okay, and you want to change this from 3D view to movie clip editor. And as you can see, I already chucked in my footage. You can do this by clicking the open button that should be right about here somewhere. And here, I'll give you a second to do that. Alright, so here we go. Let's play the footage. So, playing the footage is pretty important for Blender because Blender has to buffer the whole thing so that you can watch it smoothly. And, well, there's a problem because you play it and then suddenly there is this. And, well, we don't want that. So, the problem is that your movie clip is shorter than the timeline because our timeline is currently 250 frames long and our movie clip is only roundabout, I think 180 or 179, let's take a look. You can always see these things down under footage information. 180, okay, it's 180 frames long. So, we can fix this by pressing the set scene frames button, and as you can see, Blender auto cuts at the point where at the point where your clip ends. How old are you? I am 16 years old. Yeah, and welcome to the stream, random second person. So, we already buffered the footage, and one thing that is pretty handy is this feature, the little lock thing down here, because it prevents you from putting the cursor out of the timeline. So, step 2 is now to track the footage, so to kind of reconstruct the camera movement. And we need 8 markers for this, because there are 2 tracking modes in Blender. Number 1 is the so-called tripod tracking, where you need at least 2, I think. Where you need 2 tracking points. So your camera just rotates in Blender and it doesn't move, and in the normal mode your camera will also move, and we need the mode where your camera will also move because, yeah, the camera moves in real life. So let's go ahead and set some markers. So you want to pick some locations where there's high contrast. For example, the corner of this paper thing that is lying about here. So you can set a marker by pressing Ctrl and left clicking somewhere into the image. And you can remove the marker by pressing delete and enter. So, I have selected this marker, and now we need to go down here to the track thing and you press the play button. So what Blender did right now was that it tracked the footage. So up here you can see this part of the marker displayed roundabout here. And if you play the footage now, you will see that this marker always stays at the edge of this at the edge of this paper thing. Make animation zombie attack. What is zombie attack? You need to tell me that. I'm a noob when it comes to playing Minecraft. I'm sorry. Okay, so this was our first marker. So we need 8 ones of this. So let's set number 2 here and track it. And set the next one, and yeah. So the cursor is currently at the end of our clip, and if we want it to go back, you can press the opposite button and then it will play back the footage and track as well, which, oh, that didn't work. Alright, so yeah, this one didn't work out in any way. You can see that it's just jerking around. No, not good. So just delete this one and yeah, don't worry about it anymore. Maybe try out this position. So when you're tracking in the normal Blender tracking mode, you may want to choose points that have a big distance to one another. For example, at the on air sign, I'm going to choose this point because there's high contrast and it's from the, in real life it was quite quite distant. Here we go. And it was quite distant to all the other markers. So that Blender is able to recreate and track the camera in a very good way, which is what we want. So, next marker. Oh, wrong direction. And again, set a new marker and track it. So now we have, let's count 1, 2, 6 markers. Yes. So we need 8 ones, and the more the better. So yeah, this is actually a real tracking marker that I normally use when it comes to bigger scenes. For example, in a short film I recently made for the spaceships and stuff, they used these big markers. They're pretty awesome for tracking because you can see that yeah, there's pretty high contrast between the black and the red thing. Yeah. Did you play Minecraft? Well, I'm sort of. I'm playing Minecraft not on computer but on Xbox 360, and I'm playing for fun. So yeah, I think every Minecraft player plays Minecraft for fun. But yeah, I'm not playing on computer. I'm playing on Xbox 360 and not on servers. So this was marker number 8, I think. But as I said, the more the better. So let's add a few more. Also, if for example there's no contrast between the wall and the thing right here, so you need to scale up the marker. You can do this by pressing the S button on your keyboard. S key, not button. Yeah, so that the marker is scaled up, and then you can track it. But the bigger you scale the markers, the longer Blender needs to track things, because the resolution inside the markers is higher, and yeah, that's kinda a programming thing. What am I doing? I'm tracking the footage. So basically speaking, I'm recreating the camera movement in Blender. It's maybe a bit weird now, but if you rewatch the tutorial at the end, yeah, I hope then it's clear what I've been doing all the time. Let's add another marker and track it. Excuse me. So I think that's pretty good so far, but oh, I just spotted a great location for a new marker. Yes, awesome. You know, finding the right spots for markers is sometimes really difficult, because yeah, for example, when you have a scene in a short film, where I hope it's not going to be a short film but nearly a feature film, where I'm doing the camera and visual effects stuff, there's a scene of 2 actors walking walking across what's it called? Yeah, they're walking somewhere, and it was really difficult to track because there was grass all over the place and the grass moved, so the camera didn't move correctly, and yeah, problems of visual effects nerd. Yes, of course you can make renders in Cinema 4D. Unfortunately, I don't use Cinema 4D because I'd have to buy it, and yeah, no. Blender is for free, and that's pretty awesome. I think we'll leave this there. So yeah, we've tracked the footage. Hooray! What are we going to do now? you need to set your camera. So on the side here, there is the camera thing. You can hide and unhide this thing by pressing the N key on your keyboard. And if you go to camera and then camera presets, I filmed this on a super 35mm camera, and here it is. Yeah, so there's a ton of camera presets. For example, yeah, maybe GoPro and Blackmagic production camera and whatnot. If you're using one of these cameras, that's pretty awesome. If you don't, you can just pick the Blender thing here and enter your own the measurements of your camera sensor right here. So lens, I filmed this with the 80mm lens. So let's enter 80mm here. There's no lens distortion, so I'm going to leave that out because I also don't know what this is. Yes, that's all fine. Let's hide this thing. So let's select all markers, and now we're going to do something really awesome, because you can open up a new window inside Blender, and it's the movie editor as well. And then you go to this liney thing here, and if you press the home button, you can see this, which is a graph of how all these markers are moving. And for example, if I retrack, if I drag a marker randomly into here, it's going to stay there, of course. Yeah, but for example, you have a marker that's really jerking around, like this one does. You will see here that there are these pretty high peaks, and you want to delete this. So you want more or less even graph thing. So you can delete this by pressing delete, and everything should be fine. Now comes the important part, because now we want to recreate the camera movement in Blender. So let's open up a new window again, go to the 3D view, and the camera is already selected. In my case, maybe in your case not that, I don't know that. Yeah. So here we want to go to the properties panel and to this chain thing here, and add object constraint camera solver. So this is just a random thing Blender needs to be able to recreate the camera. And back at the movie editor, you want to press solve and leave all these settings as they are, because they should be pretty good, and just click solve camera motion. And here we go, average reproduction error 0.65 whatever. So that's pretty good. I also already rendered things with a reprojection error of, I don't know, maybe 11, 20, which is pretty much. And if you play the footage now, you will see that a Blender camera moves. And hopefully it moves as it should move. So let's test that. We're going to close these two windows. And by pressing 0 on your number pad, you're going to the camera view. And now you want to press N to open up this property panel on the side. Scroll down to background images, and here you can add a background images to what you see through the camera. Let's enable this, click add image, and now you've added an image, but there's no image because there's no image selected. So if you press movie clip, it's already there because it is the camera clip. You can change the opacity here. I'll leave it at 0.5 because Blender has a graphical issue that you can't see the grid anymore when your opacity value is higher. Yeah, so these settings are all fine, and oh, they should be at least. Let's see. What? This is weird. Anyway, okay. I hope it works now. So you can see that nothing really works, which is not so good. So you can see that these markers are all spread out behind here, and there should be 3 markers, namely, let's see, these 3 ones. They're pretty close to the camera, so they should be circa in the object origin. So let's move the camera around a little bit, so that these markers are around about here. And that's already better. So you can see that the whole thing kind of works. But yeah, it's way too big. So if you scale the camera down, you will see that the markers scale down as well. And you can scale it down so that it circa matches your real measurements in real life. So let's see, and that already looks pretty good. Yes, that's not bad. So now we want to line up our grid here with a camera. So you can do this by doing the normal Blender rotation and scale and translation thing. So I'm trying to align this with the edge of this shelf here. Let's see. All right. Yeah, here we go. Maybe rotate it as well, because it's not correctly rotated. And here we go. You can see that the grid is exactly on the shelf where we want it. Maybe move it a little bit up, because the markers are under the camera and the grid. I'm sorry. So here we go. We tracked the camera. Hooray! Yay! But if you render, you're going to see this. That's pretty annoying, right? We worked on the camera tracking for around about, let me see, for around about 20 minutes now, and you're getting this as a render result. No, not good. So this is partly because there's nothing in the image to be rendered, and also because we're working with some wrong settings. So if you open up the properties panel as well, again, here, and you scroll down to, where is it, film, you have to select transparent. And what this will do is that the whole background is now transparent. So if you render this out, you will see that everything is transparent. So that's pretty good, and you'll see why later. Now let's bring in a test object, for example a simple cube, right here. Okay, doesn't really work. So you can orientate at these markers. So if you select this marker, for example, this is the front edge of this paper thing. The cube has to be behind this one. So circa here. And then it should be correctly tracked. Yes, it is. Let's put this here. And you will see that this CGI cube is now standing on this shelf. And if you go to rendering now, the gray cube is going to be rendered out. It still looks awful because there's no lighting in the scene. So maybe we'll add a simple point light. Shift add lamp and then point. And move this one over. If you go to rendered view, yes, it's rendered out. So yeah, let's go to rendering. And it's rendering again. Whilst it is doing that, we can already jump into the node editor and there into the compositing nodes. Select use nodes and backdrop. So use nodes enables that you're using the nodes just as it says, and backdrop does something different, which I'm going to show you now. So there's a pretty awesome add-on in Blender. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called something like I'm not sure. I think node something node wrangler. Here we go. So if you have the node wrangler add-on enabled, you can do this by pressing Ctrl Alt and U and then going to add-ons and enabling the node wrangler add-on. you can just press the shift key and click drag through this line here, and this is going to create a point. And if you then shift and control click on this point, it's going to create this so-called viewer node, and this viewer node projects the image that we're working on at the moment behind a node setup, so we can move the nodes around and the cube is going to stay behind this. Pretty awesome. Maybe you want to press N again and select fit, so now this image fits into this setup that we've got here. And yeah, let's jump into a bit of compositing, because right now the render layers, so all the CGI stuff, is going directly into the composite node. So the Blender compositor thing is built so that you've got the input right here and the output here. So everything that you're doing needs to go into the composite node at the end, because this is our video output. So now what we need is to lay this render layer thing over a footage that we had before. So we can do this by pressing Shift and A and going to color and then alpha over. So everything with these boxes behind it in Blender is transparent. So this is pretty handsome, because if we select the alpha over node and then we go to add, input and movie clip. So now we have a movie clip and we have our render layers. Everything still goes into the composite output. Now the alpha over node projects the thing that is at the upper slot over the thing on lower slot over the thing on the upper slot. So if we drag the image from the movie clip right into here, this happens. So the render layer is now projected over the movie clip. In some cases, for example, if your rendering resolution in Blender is different from your camera resolution, you need to press Shift Add and then go to Distort and Scale. And you need to check in a scale node here and set it from relative to scene size. So for example, if my settings would be normal HD, so 1280 by 720, the whole thing would look like this. Oh, alright, okay. Let's see. Yeah, the whole thing would look like this. And that's a problem, because the cube isn't on the point where it should be. So the scale node is pretty awesome, because it fits. Let's see, it it scales the video down to a size where Blender can handle it right. But I'm going to set this back to 1920 by 1080 full HD, because this has to be full HD, I think. Yeah. So okay, we've got a cube in here. So we could replace this cube with a Minecraft character. So let's do this, delete the cube, and I've already got a Minecraft character on a second layer. If we just move him over and rotate him so that he's facing to the camera, and move him down a little bit, so now he stands on this paper thing. Here we go. Maybe, yeah, we could just throw my skin on. Here we go. Oh, this looks awful. Okay, let me fix this. Just a second. Let's see. This and this and this. Okay, way better. So here we've got a Minecraft character, and he stands on this paper thing, and also when we render it now, you will see that he does stand there. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, here we go. yeah, he's there, but he isn't throwing a shadow, which he actually should be. So that's a pretty awesome trick that Blender supports, since the 2.78 update, 7.9, excuse me, no, 7.8, okay, which is if you add a simple plane under your character and scale it up a little bit, and then you go to the properties panel and under hello diagram str, and scroll down to cycle settings and just enable shadow catcher. You won't see any difference, but if you go to rendered mode and into the camera view, you will see that our character suddenly throws a shadow, which is really awesome. I'll have to change the lighting around a little bit. So let's crank this setting up. We can also now, we don't need the grid anymore, you can pull up the opacity to 1 so that you can really see what you're doing. And he still throws the wrong shadow. Maybe if we move this up a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay, yeah. I need to increase the bounces a little bit. Like this. And like this. And make the light a little bit stronger. About 200. And yeah. Again, if we render it, you will get a pretty decent result. So you could already work with this now. Hello, komische Kartoffel. I still like your name, by the way. So, here we go, and we rendered out our character with shadows. Now, the shadows, as you can see here, they should go into another direction. So, we need to move a point lamp to round about here. Yes, round about here. But now you'll see that this plane is too small again. So, hello everyone. So what you want to do now is basically to rebuild everything that you can see here. So we need to move this here so that you kind of imitating that this plane is actually the paper thing from here, because there's a little edge and you might see that in the animation later. Oops, I messed up. No, I didn't. So, like this. And like this. So, now we basically rebuild the whole thing here, and you can see that there's a little edge of the shadow. Just a tiny little effect, but I like it because, yeah, just has to be there so that the whole thing is realistic. And well, the rest of this animation is basically the usual animating stuff. So, yeah, maybe I'll pause them and add some subsurface scattering, and then we'll quickly go over what we've done so far. Like this. And ouch. Make him wave and smile. And yeah, I like that Pixel Frosty named this thing anti-lag, because if you turn it on and if you want to play your animation, you will recognize that it runs way slower than usual, because it's just, it adds a subsurface scattering effect to this, so there are more vertices and faces that Blender has to deal with, and it makes the whole thing way slower. It's funny. Also, if you go, for example, to any random bone constraints, no, I think it's another one. There's one where he wrote kinda don't touch this, no, don't touch this, and yeah, it was pretty hilarious. So he's waving, and the last little thing, maybe one of you remembers my weird subsurface scattering tutorial, is to add subsurface scattering to this. So basically to replace the diffuse with the principal shader. And then base color, and then the subsurface color. Change rig. Well, I'd love to actually, because there's a pretty cool rig by, it's not the Reminisce rig, it's, I don't remember the name, but the rig is really, really good. I used it for the different speedrunner thing. And it's really awesome because you can play with the facial expressions way more than in this rig. But unfortunately, there's a lot of subsurface scattering, a lot of subdivision surfacing going on. So yeah, that's not so good because I can't play the animation on the speed that I'd like to play it. So like here, it runs on maybe 10 FPS or so, and that's very difficult to animate then. Okay, so this runs smoothly. Maybe we'll take a look at one other thing that is pretty awesome in Blender, because if I move down this light, you won't see it now, but if we scale up this our shadow catcher plane right here. Oops, let's grab this light wherever it is. It's gone. Where is it? Ah, here. But if I move over the lamp like this, you will notice something, namely that this image is always in the foreground. So, excuse me, so the shadow goes into the turtle here. It's also if you add, for example, another thing right here. Because the layer with all your stuff right here is always in the foreground, and that might be a problem. So let's render this out. I don't know, can you hear my computer in the background? That's crazy. So at the moment I'm rendering menu. I don't even know if you can hear me, but at the moment I'm rendering out menu animation, and there we go, it's silent again. And this is awful because my computer kind of blows out 50-degree hot air all the time, and this is awful. Because if I come back from school in the evening and it's like, I don't know, 40 degrees in my room. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't explain what I'm doing. Okay, excuse me. So this was this is a rendered image, and then I jumped into the movie clip editor again and changed the mode from tracking, where we were before, to mask. So now if we click on new and rename this mask to, I don't know, maybe turtle mask. Pretty creative name, I know. We can fix the problem with the cube being inside of the turtle. So if you now shift click, you will see a point. If you shift click again, you will see another point, and so you can draw around the turtle here. And this is going to be, I don't know if you're familiar with vector inputs. So this is going to be a vector input for this turtle. So we need to draw this kind of like this, and then with Alt-C you kind of connect all these things up, and I'm going to make them all to a vector thing, but that doesn't matter at the moment. So this is the mask of a turtle. If we go back to the node editor now, because you still don't know what this is, and you add input mask, yes, I already did a stream on the aquatic video, and there I already tracked the camera, yes, but I didn't explain anything, so I did this to explain what I'm doing. So now we've added a mask, and the mask has to go into the factor input of the alpha over node. Nothing's happening, but if you press the tab key, you will see this, and the turtle suddenly looks really ugly, which is because a mask is not right. If we add a color invert node, it's going to be fine, because we just masked out the region where the turtle overlaps what we did here. So if we jump back here, you'll have to animate this thing in every frame, so the camera moves and you have to animate this. So this is kind of the factor input. If you I don't know how to phrase this. If things of the footage overlap what you did here, then you need to make a mask. Yeah, I hope that was kind of understandable. Which live stream? I think it was the let me have a look really quick. I think it was the oh yeah, it was the Murphy's Law live stream. A pretty awful live stream. I wouldn't suggest watching this. No, very bad stream. I had problems with really loud sounds in the end. Still don't know where that came from, but it was awful. Yeah, but turtle is pretty ugly still, because there's the edge is kind of sharp here. So if we go back to the node editor and shift add filter, and then go to the blur node, and you set this X and Y to maybe about 2. This is going to be blur out the lines here, so that we get kind of a smooth edge on the turtle. Yeah, excuse me, but well, I think that's it. I hope you understood what I was doing here, because I tend to speak very fast and ununderstandable, but I hope you like this. Yes, and in the end we're going to add my favorite effect to this, namely the lens distortion node, which is going to add a little rainbow effect to the edges. Looks kind of happy. Yeah. Well, there was something I wanted to do, but I've forgotten what it was. Yeah. So from here on, you can kind of animate as usual. Yeah, except you have to mask something out from time to time. That might happen, but this is kind of normal animating from this point on. So visual effects are, yeah, they tend to be pretty complicated when you have a first look at them, but if you've worked yourself into it, they are pretty awesome. So you can do really cool stuff like, I don't know, putting spaceships into your scenes and whatnot. Yeah, so yes. Wait, I'll write it down. This one. Yeah. Yes, so well, I think that's it, and that's it with the shortest live stream that I've ever done. Well, thank you all for watching, and yeah, see you in the next video, except there are any questions. So If you have any, just ask me while the stream is fading out. So, see you soon and goodbye.